Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: Shaunaka said, O Sutta Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage Shukadeva Goswami. Purport: Sutta Goswami is twice addressed herein by Shaunak Goswami out of great joy because he and the members of the assembly were eager to hear the text of Bhagavatam uttered by Shukadeva Goswami. They were not interested in hearing it from a bogus person who would interpret it in his own way to suit his own purpose. Generally, the so-called Bhagavatam reciters are either professional readers or so-called learned impersonalists who cannot enter into the transcendental personal activities of the Supreme Person. Such impersonalists twist some meanings out of the Bhagavatam to suit and support impersonalistic views, and the professional readers at once go to the 10th canto to misexplain the most confidential part of the Lord's pastimes. Neither of these reciters are bona fide persons to recite Bhagavatam. Only one who is prepared to present Bhagavatam in the light of Shukadeva Goswami, and only those who are prepared to hear Shukadeva Goswami and his representative are bona fide participants in the transcendental discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswate Devi Gaura Vani Pachavine Nirvishesha Shunyadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Shaunakuvacha Sutta Sutta Mahabhaga Vada no Vadatam Vara Katham Bhagavatim Punyam Yadaha Bhagavan Chukaha. Shaunaka said, O Sutta Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage Shukadeva Goswami. Here in the purport it's mentioned, because we can see in the verse that Shaunak Rishi is saying two times, Sutta, Sutta, Mahabhaga, that Sutta Goswami, Mahabhaga, greatly fortunate one, Vadana, Vadatam, Vara, speak to us, Bhagavatam, Katha Bhagavatim, Punyam. And why is he repeating twice, Sutta, Sutta? Out of great enthusiasm. They were very eager to hear the text of Bhagavatam uttered by Shukadeva Goswami. Some people instead are very interested in material topics. People are very enthusiastic for that. And they make great effort. Can we block the wind? Sorry. Some people have a great interest for material topics. Such an enthusiasm. They put so much great energy, time and planning for material sense gratification. Why do they do that? Because they are so enthusiastic. Due to ignorance, they don't have knowledge. Due to ignorance, they are putting so much energy to plan for material enjoyment. It means they don't understand what is material enjoyment, what is life, what is this material world. When someone then they're not so enthusiastic to enjoy. And how does that gyan come? One is after taking many births, other is experiencing some very traumatic condition, or simply associating with someone who is a transcendentalist. A person experiences transcendence or gets knowledge simply by being near, agyata sukriti, by being near someone else. And then, due to that realization, for material sense gratification. So anybody who's going to start spiritual life, they should have come to the end of material enjoyment, which means that they are not at all hopeful to be materially happy. They're not making a plan, they have nothing connected to that. That means they understand about that. And that's why in spiritual topics, we discuss spiritual topics. But a lot of the narrations, one is explaining about spirituality, other is explaining about the futility of material enjoyment. That this is not the path to go, this is not the path to go. We see children are so excited and happy and running around and not having any care in the world. So people like to say, look at these children, we see God in them, they're so happy, they're so, It's because they don't understand what is this material world. Then they get a little bigger, they become more peaceful. And finally they cross 13, 14, 15, then lust comes. Then everyone becomes miserable, generally speaking. Then body starts to demand, and we can't satisfy. So then people become very silent. And that is due to understanding more their situation, that I'm in this world, now I have to do this, now I have to struggle for existence. And then finally, when you come to college, okay, some hope is there. After college, that's it. Then we realize what is the plan of this material world. So in this way, by not knowing, people are so enthusiastic. Even in material life, some people have a big plan that, I have to make this much money, get this car, and they make a plan. They don't understand. But if someone understands, then they don't have that plan at all. But some people, unfortunately, they understand that material life is pointless, but they have no knowledge of spiritual life. That can be very great suffering. Now, regarding spiritual life, enthusiasm is very important, as Prabhupada mentioned, as Srila Rupa Goswami mentions, Utsaha Nishchet Herya Tatat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyagat Sato Vritte Sadbir Bhaktir Prasidyati. 6 things which increase bhakti. One is enthusiasm. Enthusiasm. Prabhupada said practically in the purport, you cannot do anything if you're not enthusiastic about it. You have to be enthusiastic. How will that come? Well, one is to understand what is spiritual life. Understanding philosophy, understand this is the path, this is what I have to do. And I'm very happy, yes, I'm doing it, it's very nice. But it's so much austerity, yes, but this is nothing compared to that. That is suffering. Spiritual life. Spiritual life, of course, we're in ashrama. Others are in different ashrams, but as long as they're in spiritual life, Prabhupada explained that if somebody chants every day, 16 rounds, and reads, then they'll be happy in any condition of life. They'll be happy. So, enthusiasm in spiritual life. In a quote that once I read regarding small centers like this, Prabhupada is giving instruction. Distributing the books will make you happy. Reading the books will keep you convinced. So in this way, we stay convinced. Because, for example, we are regularly associating with people who are, having enthusiasm for other things in life, not Krishna. And sangat sanjayate kama. We associate with them, and hopefully we don't get their mood, but that would happen. So in order for that not to happen, we have to remain convinced in our situation. So we remain convinced that through philosophical understanding and regular reading, that this is a great path that we are on. So here, Shonak Rishi, when he's telling Suta Goswami about speaking Bhagavatam, he was very enthusiastic. He's repeating twice, Suta, Suta, Mahabhaga. So anybody knowing rules of grammar will read and say, repetition, this is something wrong. This Sanskrit verse, mindset. Elsewhere, repetition happens in chapter 2, that part on Sankhya Yoga, description of the soul. What is the rate of the soul? It's like this, it's like that, immutable. Prabhupada says repetition here is due to emphasis because of importance. Something has to be remembered, to be repeated. Again it's coming very often in this section. It will come to the end of Bhagavatam. Very important. It's emphasized that Bhagavatam should be heard like those who are in the mood of Shaunak Rishi and spoken by those who are in the mood of Suta Goswami. So Shaunak Rishi and the sages were very excited to hear Bhagavatam, so they went in ecstasy. So we should come to that stage of enthusiasm, because enthusiasm has to be maintained in all conditions. So we have to remain convinced and understand philosophically about this path, because we are in a material world, and in the material world we are surrounded by materialistic people, material consciousness, material energy. We are surrounded by that. So as we are practicing bhakti and continuing, then this material energy, which is also in our mind, and so the spiritual energy has to be experienced every day. I heard from one sannyasi, he said that every day we have to take a dip in the nectar, then we'll be okay. Dip in nectar means hearing and reading Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Take a dip in the nectar, then experiencing that, param drishtani vartate, will not think otherwise. Other people are practicing spiritual life, like impersonalists. Impersonalists, their enthusiasm is that we'll come out of the cycle of birth and death, which is true if they're following properly, not like nowadays, people who call themselves followers of Shankara and the other, but they're not following actually properly. And the Shankarites actually, they accepted the Vedas and follow them properly, but in a wrong interpretation. So they come out of cycle of birth and death. They'll merge into the Brahma Jyoti. They're very enthusiastic because of undergoing suffering due to Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha, due to Bhaya, not Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha, Raga, attachment. They were attached to this material world and they got suffering. So their idea is, let me come out of this suffering condition. Let me come out. Yes, we can come out. In the Upanishads explain nature of Brahman, so on. Majority of part of the Vedas are speaking about that. So by experiencing Brahman, this transcendence, one can come out. And how? Shabda Brahman, through studying of activities, meditating on Om sound, that's what they do. So they experience Brahman, Brahma samsparshana, they come in contact. Then they feel this is a higher thing. And then they gradually detach from material nature. And they're very enthusiastic to give up the suffering. But it says, Lord Brahma, as Brahma says, that they will go to a point, the Anyarvindaksha Vimukti Manina. They think we are freed from suffering, we are freed from the material energy. Vimukti Manina. Toyasta Bhavad Avishuddha Buddha. But actually their intelligence is still contaminated. That means they're still not in perfect intelligence. Which is what? Which is that in order to be fully pure and liberated, one has to come to their original position of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But due to that ignorance, they become enthusiastic in that way. But there are many records of personalities who were on that path and then came to path of bhakti. And how did they get enthusiastic to take a bhakti path? Again, two ways. One could realize it, or one could experience it. We also preach devotional service. One way is we just speak on philosophy, but a very few section of people are inclined to that. As Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that in one place, but again this depends on the place and the people, that in this age of Kali people are not much interested in philosophy. So Kirtan and Prasad. And he said, you hold discussion, do a lot of Kirtan, distribute Prasadam, this way we can purify huge sections of the population. So because People are not so enthusiastic. We saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did the same thing. He did that. So another way to make people take up bhakti, even though they don't have intelligence, is experience. Because they'll sit in the kirtan and experience Krishna. Or in the prasad, or among devotees, they'll experience. And they feel, this is a high experience, I want to experience this. So they'll keep coming for that. But didn't understand anything. But then, by experiencing, they become pure. When they develop attraction to Krishna, Shrinvatam, no, not that one. Shushushro Shradadhanasya, one who desires to hear about Krishna. Shushushro Shradadhanasya Vasudeva Katha Ruchi, one who develops a desire to hear. He'll be, at least, such a person would have experienced about Krishna. You would experience. So now he's enthusiastic. Let me hear. So such a person, Vasudeva San Mahatsya Vipra Punyatitya Nishevanat, that he will approach. And that can be by associating with great devotees, hearing from them, or they, associating with them. Then what happens? Then the next verse says that everything in the heart is purified. Here the antasavadani vidhunoti. So one becomes purified in heart by hearing and associating with great devotees. So even the impersonalists, they also have philosophy. They have very good philosophy, sometimes more than devotees. They can speak. And Mayavadis, they'll speak and go around and manipulate language, Sanskrit, to say some other meaning. They're very expert at that. But even they, when they experience Krishna, can change through philosophy or through association. The philosophy of Krishna consciousness, as we say many times, it is not really for developing such a great knowledge and becoming educated in that way, but it's in order to make us, to give us, to awaken bhakti, devotional service. And so, if someone is actually enthusiastic to hear about Krishna, that's a very high level of attraction, because we experience about Krishna and we get purified, but the mind is impure, and the mind again can drag us back. But if someone hears and philosophically understands, and the intelligence is purified, then it's difficult, it's not so easy to come again in the captures of Maya. Of course, then who are we talking about? Great personalities. We are not fully convinced ourselves. So then Lord Brahma says that Tvai astabhavad avi shuddha buddha. They are not ayura kritshrena tato param padam. These people, they struggle hard to come to Brahman Jyoti level through their practices of impersonalism. Aruya kritshrena padam padam tato patanti ada na yushmad angraya. Nadrita yushmad angraya. They did not awaken taste for your lotus feet, so they come back. So a devotee, when he accumulates more and more knowledge about Krishna and reading and hearing this shravanam, then automatically he gets purified and becomes very enthusiastic. We have seen, like we went recently to see Tirupati at Balaji, and everyone was chanting Govinda, but one particular person was chanting loudly non-stop. He got his enthusiasm by studying and understanding who is Balaji, who is Krishna, and he was so enthusiastic. He completed the books, he read Bhagavad Gita. So that enthusiasm that level, of course people would have come and seen the deity and experienced, and they're coming back, all glories to them. Some are not coming, but others, they are coming with such a full enthusiasm, and then we can understand they have realization of the Supreme, that somehow Krishna gave that realization, and also their endeavor. Two things are there. So if this is kind of enthusiasm, you have to awaken. Prabhupada repeats again about that many times. He quotes that verse about Utsaha, Nishya, Dharya. And he also mentioned about the book distribution. How to distribute the books. Prabhupada said, my books are distributed by enthusiasm of my devotees. He said this point. Why enthusiastic? Because they understand what I'm doing, what it is, what is the result of this. And so keenly they'll do it, not divert anywhere else. So this level of devotion has to be inculcated, enthusiasm. And in this way, whatever impediments come, we're able to overcome. Because yes, we see the difficulties, but on the other hand, we see that's difficult, but more difficult is if I don't practice this path in the pure way properly. That's going to be very difficult because they understand the truth of life. And therefore, out of all the different communities in Varnashram, a sannyasi is supposed to be the leader of the Varnashram institution, even of Brahmanas. A sannyasi would have gone through all the different stages, and a sannyasa means he gives up acting any other, at least the Vaishnava understanding is, he gives up all action except action for the Supreme. Mayavadi sannyas, they give up all action at all, completely. But you'll find sannyasis running a temple, running some book production, anything, they're still doing it, but the action is for the Supreme. They give up action for themselves. And that is karma sannyas, giving up karma. But it's not karma if you're doing it for Krishna. That's not. So they're supposed to be the leaders, and when they reach that stage, that they're so convinced they're able to live without any sense gratification. It's not easy. We all, the human body wants some level of happiness. And Prabhupada said, sense gratification is like salt. You can't take too much, you can't take too little. No, we have to be living. But sannyas level is, that's it, they've given. So they're the leaders. But then again, Brahmanas also. Brahmanas they know Brahman. Because they understand Brahman, they live always in a poverty-stricken condition. That means, you see, one of the duties of the Brahmana is charity, dana. Patan, patan, yajan, yajan, dana, pratigya. So dana means people keep giving them so many things. That's, Brahmanas are donated. They give donations, they give contributions. But the Brahmana will give it out at the end. What he needs, he'll take, and thus he'll give it away. Otherwise one wonders why a Brahmana is giving charity. This is the reason. They'll not keep. Because, you see, people who accumulate wealth, they're thinking, my best self-interest is to have enough material things, I live comfortably, and I'll be happy, everything will be fine. Keep enough, so that I don't lack anything. But a Brahman understands that even a rich man, he can be lacking. He'll have all the money, but if he's not meant to be in good health, he won't. And he understands Brahma Janati, he understands Brahman, he understands this working of this world. So his idea is, let me take full shelter of the Supreme and work towards taking shelter, not accumulating. That accumulation won't help. And because they do that, they're mentally strong. They can't be, be in fear or dominated or threatened, because they understand what is. Like in the past, Brahmanas will even advise the king what to do and chastise him. For example, the incident of King Vena. Brahmanas went to him and told him, this is not correct, this is, And now, for someone to go against a cruel king who has capacity to harm people, because King Vena, we saw, he was against Brahminical culture. He stopped yajnas. He said, you should worship me. I am Vishnu. I am supreme. It's through me you're getting everything. So Brahmanas went to him and told him that this is not correct. The Supreme, they explained to him, who's the Supreme? You understand? He's providing everything, even whatever thing you think you're getting, whatever you think you have, everything is from the Supreme. So in this way you should surrender to the Supreme. So they had that boldness, because they were not scared that, oh, he'll take away our money, because they're not dependent. They're dependent on Vishnu. They didn't care about that. They were not afraid also of harm. Everything they knew is under the order of the Supreme. And so they had that boldness. So that comes by understanding properly. Fearless condition, renounced condition, and generally peacefulness. That's why we say, why Brahmanas, peaceful. Sattva gun means a relative level of peace and happiness, some kind of. Rajasic, they get happiness with great difficulty by endeavoring, but they also get pain in that endeavor. Tamogun, there is no happiness either way, here or there. So Brahmanas are relatively happy because they are sattvic, in sattvagun. They are situated in knowledge, and that makes them peaceful. Actual knowledge, what is the truth of this world. So that makes them peaceful. And so in that condition, they are able to take position of teacher and leader and advisor, not dependent on anything. Their advice is not dependent on the money I'm getting or my personal like or dislike. Towards early part of Kali Yuga, Vedas were written down. Later it was written and copied, and then so many interpolations have happened. Some parts are taken in, added. Why? Because people don't like that. Who are writing, I don't like this part. Vyasadeva was not like that. He wrote down. He was Amoga Dirk. His vision was pure. Because he was pure, he said, I just have to write down what is the truth. But for example, this section of Mahabharata, it's given when Parashara Muni was being led across the river by Satyavati, Vyasadeva's mother. Satyavati. They were going across the river, she was taking him across. So at that time he through his vision, deeper vision, he understood this is auspicious time to have a child. If we have a child now, in this constellation, the child will be a great personality, Vyasadeva. So then he told Satyavati, she was following dharma, so she was not keen. So then he explained, no, it will be as if you did not have a child. Then he created a mist around the boat and they produced the child. But I heard from a speaker that if you see some versions of Mahabharata, it's not like that. They came to an island. In the island, they both got out. Then he married her. Demigods came, there was a lot. Then they produced the child. And why is that? Because some people writing could not understand and could not accept this point. That, how can you do this? This is Parashara Muni. And Vyasadeva, how can he be born like this? But what we understand is our levels of morality and rules are different at different levels. In Swarga they have different rules. We have different rules. Previous yugas they had different rules. The brother could produce a child in his brother's wife. Now we don't have that. So it's according. So in this way, there have been changes, small, but some things have not changed, and that we have that knowledge from our acharyas, what is pure, what is not. Our acharyas know. But this is the point, that brahmanas, being pure, actual brahmanas, are qualified to teach. They're qualified to teach and impart knowledge, because their imparting of knowledge is pure. They have pure motives. That's why they take that position. And whole society was guided by them. They explained to the Kshatriyas what to do, they explained the Vaishya, everyone followed them, they could see. So that class is missing now. As Prabhupada mentioned, we have to create this class who are convinced, and they take pleasure simply in this knowledge and what's that word? Atmarama. They're satisfied within themselves. They don't have to seek happiness outside. Why? Due to deeper realization and understanding. The knowledge, Vedic knowledge, itself gives happiness. It says, Susukham kartum. Simply by accumulating and studying the knowledge, we are happy. That's the level. So one has to come on this level of knowledge. Then studying and understanding this knowledge, then we become enthusiastic for spiritual life, for spiritual knowledge, imparting these things. and then we are able to leave the lower taste. So we are so fortunate that Srimad Bhagavatam is here, which is very powerful in this respect. It says that, as sages said, that Shinvatam Shradaya Nitya Grinatas Tasvateshtitam Kalena Nati Dirgena Bhagavan Vishato Hirdihi. With faith, with knowledge, if you accept this, with faith, Shradaya, Shinvata, if we hear, with faith, accepting it, Nitya, always, Shradaya, Shinvata, Nitya, Grinata, Svacheshtatam, activities of Supreme Personality of Godhead, then not after a long time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in our heart. And when will the Supreme appear? Is when we are free from desires. So, this, when we become so much enthusiastic for this, then we'll have no taste in the material world. But also to hear this, we have to somewhat convinced, as Prabhupada always puts in his purports and books, he is also convincing us, no, give it up, give up this material thing, give it up. He's also convincing, because spiritual life will start, we'll sit down and open and come to this when we realize this material world is not futile, it's not a source of happiness and pleasure, but suffering. So this much knowledge is a prerequisite for bhakti. At least some knowledge we should have. We should come to the end of material life and become enthusiastic to follow spiritual life by being convinced that material life is futile. So we have a great treasure in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam to do this. Because Bhagavatam is also not only speaking about Krishna, we say that we are hearing, enjoying at every step, sadhu svadhu pade pade. We are at every step enjoying nectar by hearing this Bhagavatam. Yes, but before that we are so much happy to read about this material world is suffering. In the Brahmachari book it's written that those who are cultivating detachment from material world, they become enlivened to hear how this material world is full of suffering. But those who are attached, they become disturbed. Why are you speaking these things? Why are you saying this? You know, like Nunam Pramata Kurute Vikarma Yad Indriya Prita Paranoti Nasadumani Yat Atmano Yam Asa Nasadumani Yat Atmano Yam Asada Kleshat. That one who makes sense gratification the aim of his life, eventually Pramata Kurute, he'll do sinful activities, he'll do everything to get that sense gratification. Now when we hear that, we become happy. Yes, we should. Nayam deho deha bhajamne loke kashtan kaman arhiti vit bujhamye. Rishabdev tells his sons that of all the different living entities, one who has taken the human form, Nirlok, Kashtan kaman arhati, Nayam, he should not endeavor like a pig. Pig, all day searching after stool in the gutter. He is searching after that because he wants to enjoy some kind of sense pleasure, but it is not sense pleasure. So one who but he's working so hard for that stool-like sense pleasure. So a human being should not waste his life and work and study so hard simply to get sense gratification. Nayan, at least a human. Why? Because they is tapo divyam. They should work hard and struggle, but for spiritual benefit. Tapo divyam putrakan yena satam shuddhir. Because then our heart will be purified of all material desires. Satam shuddhir yasman brahma sokyam tvanantam. Then we'll get unlimited happiness. Even before we realize God, if we at least give up the material desires, we become happy. How is that? Because, as I mentioned, like why are children so happy at young age? Because they don't understand. The material desires did not manifest. Later as they get older, they're not so, they're more silent and then more silent. When they come to 12, 13, 14, then people are serious. Then more than after that. So then the material desires came. But you cannot fulfill them. This is the problem. So even one who gets Brahma realization, he becomes happy in one way because the guna is not pushing anymore. That is the first level. But higher than that is bhakti, Brahma Sokyam, the happiness that comes through bhakti. That's something that we have to be convinced, study Shastra, be convinced by text, or we have to be convinced practically. Better we be convinced by reading and understanding so many personalities who took shelter fully of Bhagavatam instructions and became enthusiastic in hearing, chanting, like great kings also. And through this conviction, through this becoming convinced, they took it fully and became so enthusiastic for it, and then gave up all other kinds of material endeavors. Hare Krishna. Any question?
Once Jivas merged with Brahmacharya, and again from there they going to inside of this Krishna.
Yeah.
And again they have to fall down and
99.9% fall down. Very rarely one can go from there. It's very rare, very rare. Mostly they didn't realize, because to enter there one has to at least know who's Krishna and I should serve him, what is happening there. That knowledge should be there. What will you do?
they are in Brahmacharya,
How they go higher there? I don't know, but I recall reading this, that the jivas who are in Brahmajyoti, 99.9% return here. Yeah.
only the Jivas Vaishnavas and generally they will become again Bhakti. They will never get Bhakti.
Yeah, Bhakti is only through Vaishnava's mercy. But then you have personalities like Narad Muni who go all over the universe.
Narad Muni will go to the Brahmacharya.
No, Brahmajyoti is when you're going from material world to spiritual world, you pass Brahmajyoti. It's that light surrounding the planets in Vaikuntha.
What will you do preach in the Brahmacharya?
Preach, I doubt it, because everyone is not having sense, not just like in a dead condition, just lying frozen like this. But then even associated with the pure devotee, you can get bhakti. Kripa Siddhi.
So
Yeah.
about the Mayavadis, I heard in some places being said that after they die, they become trees. And
No, or rocks, or mountains.
rocks. So, but you mentioned that there is possibility of them actually going to Brahmajyoti. So
No, that's sorry, I made a mistake. That's Brahmavadis. Mayavadis.
Mayavadis don't have any chance of going to Brahmajyoti.
Mayavadis. They offend Krishna. They may get Brahman. Destination of Mayavadis. I think if they're not. Mayavadi is offensive to Krishna. Some are on the path, they're not offensive, they just don't know. They don't know. But they come across the. But Mayavadi means they're thinking that Krishna has a material body. Some are doing it out of ignorance. They don't know. You convince them, they're convinced. Others are really offensive. And if you tell them, they'll be offensive, more envious. So once you offend in that way, then you have to suffer. Mayavadi, Krishna Aparadi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says.
But unless we tell them, there is no way to know, right, whether they are offensive or just ignorant.
That's correct. So we should all go out and distribute books and tell everyone. Not only there are people in maybe Afghanistan or Canada or North Pole. They don't know. They may be eating meat or doing, and then you tell them about Krishna, your eternal identity, they'll take it. There are people from all communities who are taking up Krishna consciousness due to knowledge. They become attracted immediately. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.